thing, do it. If you're thinking about it, the market's great out here, so do it. But then the second bit to kind of feed into that is whatever you're thinking it's going to cost, double it. Probably, and then some more to get things off the ground properly. But it's a great market, great opportunity. And yeah, I think it's made us more appealing as a global business as well by having a New York office. It's enabled us to attract better talent in London, Nottingham, and outgrow those offices as well.
It's definitely a challenge. Like New York is an expensive place to live, and when you start in a new market and you've not got commission coming in for a few months, like it's a struggle. Like it's definitely a struggle, and it can be really challenging. But I also think sometimes that's when you bring the best out of people, like when they have no option but to figure out a way to make it work. And I know that's what happened to me. Is I don't think I would have had the same experience that I did if it wasn't a struggle. Like if it was just easy for me, like I don't think I would have been as successful as I was.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. I think one of the biggest things for me, which I was like actively trying not to do, was like overthink it too much. I think if you sit down and you start thinking about every single variable, both in the process of moving over here and in your initial months being here, and you're always going to find a reason as to why you shouldn't do it, and a reason as to why it's going to be a bad thing for you, and you can always talk yourself out of it. Whereas I was deliberately trying not to do that. I just accept it as an exciting opportunity and sort of leave it at that, and then let the variables I couldn't control take their own path. And when you're over here as well, a lot of those fears and problems you had just naturally mitigate themselves. Like it's never as bad as you think. Like the transition, it was much smoother than I had anticipated, and I had actively not thought about it. I mean, like actively tried not to worry about it or overthink it or
just go with
have my concerns. I think from when I had my mind set up that I was moving, that was it. There was no going back.
Yeah, if I'm honest with you, I think it's very much. I think the stats are there; they kind of speak for themselves in terms of there's the same number of recruitment companies in the US as there are in the UK. Which, when you think about the size of the US, it's just absolutely kind of mental stats. Average invoice values are, we're averaging kind of $29,000-$30,000 per invoice. Everyone has 2 weeks notice, no matter what level you're placing at, whether it's C-suite, whether it's 2 weeks, it's quick turnaround, and people pay on time. And it's
speaking generally, I would say that the earning potential in the US market is larger than the earning potential in the UK market, but that obviously goes down to a number of factors, right? So A, the industry that you're working in or servicing, B, the commission structure that you've got set up with the employer that you're working for, C, where you're actually situated and living. New York is an incredible place to live, but it's the most expensive city in the world.
Of course.
So, taking that into account, the cost of living in New York is ridiculous. Even if you're earning really good money, you're also seeing a lot of that money leave your bank as quick as it is coming in. If I was to give you a general answer, I'd say that the earning potential in the US is greater than the earning potential in the UK, in my opinion.
Definitely.
If you look at it, there are more recruitment agencies in the UK than the US, but the UK doesn't even fit inside of Texas. So the market is huge. What I will say is there are some clearly saturated markets where it is easier to do business from the UK, New York, Boston, Florida. And so where I think a lot of businesses have had wins is by, looking at some of these up and coming tech markets. Austin is obviously one that's been on a lot of people's radars for the last couple of years. But having that platform to be able to go out to California, because it's really difficult to work California from the UK, right? You're taking calls 2, 3 a.m. It's not sustainable. But the businesses that can operate in California, operate in Seattle, operate in Colorado. And that's where I found a ton of my success, because whilst there are recruitment businesses in California, it still isn't of the size and scale that you see, UK businesses attacking the East Coast and businesses landing in Boston, landing in Florida, landing in the Carolinas, which are, really hot spots and where people seem to be touching ground, as well as Chicago is something that I've seen over the last kind of 12 or 18 months too.
I think get yourself surrounded by the right teams. And when, partnerships are important, whether it's, if you're doing contracts, if you're engaging with an umbrella company or a payroll solutions, as they are over there, definitely do that, because, the intricacies of the US compared to the UK, if there's 50 plus states in the US and there's 50 plus federal laws and state laws, which you don't need to become an expert in if you're engaging with the right partners. Whereas in the UK, it's just, one UK law, right? So, if you're doing contract there, definitely engage with the right partners. From employment law, it's very different there. So again, make sure that you've got the right partner there. Accountancy, there's all different kind of tax returns and everything, which you don't want to get bogged down with. So having the right people around you. And the biggest challenge which I've had is banks. I mean, if you can get a digital bank, then I would go for it.
We launched prior to having incorporated and having any visa opportunities. So we've been flying people over and having a kind of a bit of a relay of team on the ground. You want to maximise every moment you are there in front of customers. And customers aren't that bothered about the fact that you've flown 5,000 miles and it's cost you 10 grand a trip. And so when they suddenly say, can we do a VC next Tuesday? And you're sitting in a WeWork thinking, well, no, not really. That's hugely frustrating. Yeah, we had one trip. We've probably done 8 to 10 trips, I think, so far in 5 months. We had one trip, we had 24 meetings in a week booked, and only 4 happened. Right. And so, you come back to the UK, everyone's sort of cheering you and saying, how'd it go? And you can tell between your legs saying, well, 85% of our meetings didn't happen. But equally, then we've had some amazing interactions. We've got, we've already made decent fees. We've got some great exclusive work on. So it's been really interesting.